So before I take all the covers off the plants behind me to see how they're going, I just wanted to have a quick check up on the Cherimoya seeds that I put together that have been in this bag now for about a week. I want to see if any of them are germinating and if any needs to be transferred into another pot. I've had a bit of a root through the bag to see if I can find any seeds, and it's been quite difficult, so I'm just going to get one of these trays, tip it all out into there, sort through if any seeds are germinating. We'll transfer them into a pot. If they haven't yet germinated, I'll just tip all of this back in the bag and we'll check it again in another week or so. Found one seed. This one has not germinated. Another seed has not germinated. Third seed also has not germinated. Got to be really gentle when you do this, because if they have germinated, you can damage those little roots quite easily. Fourth seed has not germinated. Fifth seed has not germinated. I think this seed I actually think may have germinated. It's got some of the coca-cola stuck to the outside of the seed. I can't see any reason for this to cling onto there. Unless the seed had germinated, but I can't see any root. I don't want to pull it off. I don't know if you can see that. But the seed has a clump of coconut coir on it, and that coir may or may not contain a root. It's not definitive, however. Another seed has not germinated. I have a feeling that these need to go in for another week, and we'll check up on them again. Certainly, if any have germinated at all, it's very minor at this stage and doesn't need to be adjusted. So we'll put these straight back in their bag, straight back into the warm place, and we'll check on them again in a week. I actually thought there was more seeds than this. I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. Maybe that's all there is. Now on to checking out how these plants have fared. Although I do have a fairly good idea of what's going on over this side, because all the frost cloth has already come off, I haven't really checked under this section over here. I'm going to put all this frost cloth back on after this, and I'm going to secure it even better. It held up quite well. It held up for about 3 weeks with nothing more than these bamboo canes and some pipe cleaners, these twisty wires wrapped around it. We'll also check the soil to see if it's dry and needs some water. Whilst I unwrap this, I think I might just put the camera down so you're not bored with the tedium of me unwrapping wires for the next 5 minutes. So here we go, all unwrapped. Now let's start off with what I know has been harmed. After our big frost, where we got below -5, -5.4 was recorded at the Canberra airport. Now it's probably didn't get quite that cold in my yard, but we certainly got cold enough to give this baba cow, still has all these fruits on it, a real headache. This plant is looking sad. It has no new growth anywhere on it. All the leaves have been crispified. The soil is damp, so it's not a water related issue. I expected this baba cow to be one of the ones that got through without any trouble whatsoever. So that is a disappointing outcome, because it puts me in great fear for some of my more sensitive tropicals. For instance, this Rollinia behind it. This Rollinia appears to be having a very sad time of it as well. It's disappointing. It does have green leaves still on it. The soil is damp but not wet. So we have damp soil in here, so it's not likely to be water stressed, but it is in poor shape. These leaves don't look very healthy. The tip has totally died back. You might notice in these pots I've put some sensors in some places. So these have got 2 sensors in this pot. And the reason for this is this pot is reading only 7% moisture, which is really low. And it is looking a little bit drier down here. And I've been digging in this pot over the last few days, just trying to work out if this is an accurate reading of the soil or not. And it is actually looking fairly dry. So we'll give that pot at least a water as we go over today. I put sensors throughout these pots to measure the temperatures to see how much of a difference it makes. We have a sensor down in this avocado here, this Hass avocado, which is looking really great. We have healthy green new leaves coming on. I can't see any frost damage at all. This particular pot was not covered with frost cloth, so I wanted to know the difference between the frost cloth, how much of a heat effect that was having, compared to just being by the wall, which is this avocado is. So doing really well. That's avocado. Cherimoya tree here. Can't see any damage on those leaves. Looks like we might still have new growth coming on. Healthy green. Achacha back here. Looks to me to be much as I left it. The Batanga tuber, which in the other videos I couldn't recall the name of. It's looking okay, nothing special. This achacha seems to be doing quite fine. Just test the soil of this. This soil is notably wetter than those other ones. This avocado soil is actually quite dry, so that needs some water today as well. This is quite wet. It's important not to overwater tropical plants over winter, because they will drown, they'll die of other causes. This banana leaf has obviously taken the frost quite difficult, quite hard. The leaves are generally green. New shoots are showing some signs of frost damage, but the stem itself looks to be quite healthy. And down the bottom, these offshoots, these little pups, they don't look too bad. There's a bit of frost damage on the tip of that one there, but nothing that's too crazy by large. And if you have a look at the ladyfinger banana behind it, that's in even better condition. Some of those leaves are still perfectly green. The stem is great. Big tall plant. In this barrel here we had the madrono, which we're going to give a really good water in again, and I think I'm going to keep on top of this pot. We're going to move some of these sensors around as well to measure the soil dryness. Sapote avocado doesn't seem to be having any trouble. Soil is damp-ish down the bottom. This could use some water now. Banana here, this is the blue Java banana, looking like it's holding on, but definitely not thriving. Now this soil is actually wet. Now when I mix these soils, I don't use the exact same mix every single time, and that's kind of showing here today. Some of these mixes are far more retentive than others. This one here, these pots are side by side, they get the same amount of water. This one here is quite damp, quite dry, and this one here you can see is actually very wet in comparison. Still not sopping. I do aim when I mix these soils up to have free draining soils that don't retain water over time. I don't want my plants to be waterlogged. White sapote, seedling, no trouble at all. This plant here looks like it could be in the first weeks of spring. We have new growth up here. We have no damage that I can tell, maybe some of the most minor of damage on these leaves. The soil is wet compared to the other ones. This has been in a slightly different mix, again with some mulch on top. Another white sapote seedling over here from a different location, from a different nursery. Similar to the last video I took, the leaves are a little bit yellowing, but they're not damaged. I can't see any frostbite. Soil is wet. Macadamia, no troubles here. Wet soil, wet to damp soil. Another white sapote. I don't recall what this one was looking like in the last video. I feel like it had a bit of... Well, I feel like this one was actually doing well. This one here is one from Dailies. This is just a seedling, so it's not a grafted or named variety. And you can see we have new growth coming on inside here. So the freezing days that we've had, the freezing mornings, have not set these white sapote back at all. At least not all of them. You also notice that I've got all of this these Christmas lights set up here. I spent a couple $100 importing these damn lights from the US because it's so hard to find these incandescent lights, the ones that put off heat. And after being turned on for about an hour, they all died, every single one of them. So I don't know if it's a case where the bulbs, you lose a single bulb that the whole string goes out, or if there was some other issue. They weren't expensive lights, they're about 25 or $30 US, but then there was international shipping fees, which I didn't think about, which cost a fortune, having 1,200 of these damn Christmas lights sent over. You were meant to be able to link them together so that you could link these big rows together, and I was hoping it was going to provide a few extra degrees of heat, and instead it's just sat there causing me trouble. Now I have to untangle all of these Christmas wires, I have to put them back in their boxes, and I have to ship them back to Amazon for a refund. So that's fun. This is the Japoticaba that had those kind of leaves that were changing colour. Doesn't look to have progressed any further than my last video. The discoloration is still there. The leaves still aren't crispy. They still feel like normal leaves. Just noticed that the backs of these leaves are actually green. How bizarre is that? So the discoloration is on one side of the leaf, and on the other side of the leaf is just totally green. So there you go. These leaves are probably frost damage, I would imagine. I think that's probably what it is, but they're obviously not dead. Below that, black sapote. It's got new growth on it, new shoots. That looks really good. Down here, this is a Garcinia, I believe. What is this plant? This will come to me in a few minutes. This is not doing good. This is not doing well at all. We've lost some leaves. I can see more frostbite leaves on the plant. The soil is damp enough that I don't believe the soil to be a problem. I don't believe it to be a water related issue. So that is sad to see. Right next door to it, this is a pink guava, and this is got some crispified leaves on it. So this has not been doing too well. It's not dying. Some of the leaves have got some purplish discoloration, but underneath that we've got green leaves, so that one will definitely recover, at least at this stage. Another Japoticaba. This is the large leaf Japoticaba from Daly's. Looks like it's doing just fine. The Kiet, however you pronounce this mango. This one was the one that was flowering. It's really not a good idea to be flowering. I was going to leave them on. Maybe I'll just chop those off. This is not going to be helping the plant at all. It's got green leaves. Down we have some leaves that maybe show some frost damage, discoloration, but otherwise seem to be doing fine so far. Another white sapote. Fresh buds coming on. Looks like we have new growth, albeit slower than the other ones. So you've got new buds coming on. That's looking quite well. This is the Kampong, grafted variety from Daly's. So that's nice to see that that's not dying. Another Japoticaba. Nangapaya. Sorry, this is not a Japoticaba. A Nangapaya. Oh, this is Eugenia. Goes to show that when you order too many plants, you can barely ever keep up with them. Very interesting to see that the leaves of this look identical to me to the leaves of this Japoticaba, which is definitely a Japoticaba. They grow similarly, so they're growing almost opposite each other along the stems, about the same size and same shape. So Nangapaya, interesting. I have to look into that one to see more about what that is. Either way, it's doing well. This is a white sapote again, another seedling. This one, for whatever reason, is in worse shape than the others. The leaves have got a little bit more discoloration. Looks like there's some bugs have got it as well. Soil is damp when we get down into it. Definitely not wet soil, which is good. It's hard to tell how far down and what the difference is as we get towards the bottom of the pot, because these are large pots. If the soil gets damper and damper, which it does, we don't want it to actually be wet around the root ball. We want it to be damp like this, so that the plants can access moisture without rotting in the soil. Lipstick tree plant. Look, it's not looking special. That one I'm not hugely concerned about. If it dies, it's not going to be any tears shed. Another black sapote. Looks very similar to how it was. Maybe it's a little bit chloriotic on the top. Longan. I think I missed this in the last video. I missed talking about it. It's doing really well. Nice, fresh green leaves. Looks like it's trying to put off some new growth down here as well, which is good to see. That's nice to see that. This is another black sapote. This is the superb variety. It's had this discoloration on the back of the leaves since before it was moved out here. I don't know what that's from. I think it's when it got a little bit damaged in transport actually. It's not putting on any new growth, I don't believe, but it's just doing fine. It's just sitting there chilling. The other mango, it's got some kind of tips of the leaves up here that aren't looking too great. Soil moisture is wet, so this one definitely doesn't need, well, wet compared to the other ones, this one definitely doesn't need new any more water applied to it. The other blue Java banana, it's not looking very good. It's not looking very good at all. It is on the outside here, so maybe it's copying a little bit more of the frost than the other ones perhaps do. Acerola, I don't know if I had these in my other videos. These are actually still in the cardboard boxes sent from dailies, so I'm going to pot them both up today. They've been in here like that now since before I had to run to Adelaide, and I just haven't had the chance. I've been so busy to pot them up into more permanent plants. Now they are losing some leaves here, but there is a very strong possibility that they're quite dry in these places, and that's confirmed. They are too dry. So we'll pot them up, we'll give them a good water, and hopefully they'll be fine. Down here, Brazilian custard apple. I keep mixing up my Rolinias and my ox hearts. This one here, I think, is the ox heart. This one over here, I think, is a Rolinian. Now, they call this one Mexican custard apple. They call the other one Brazilian custard apple. Now, I don't know. I'm going to look into it a bit more. They are all part of the same family, so they're all in the Annona family. I don't care if they're different varieties. I want to try as many varieties as possible, so I'll look in to see more accurately what they are. But I keep mixing them up, and I recognise I did that in my last video as well. This is the Bosworth lychee, also called the M. I think they call it the M3 on the internet in some places. This one wasn't doing very good, very well in its last videos. Its leaves are looking chloriotic. They look like some of the older leaves are being damaged from frost. I did move it back so it's not as close to the exterior of my little protective cage. Soil is wet enough that I don't think it's soil related issue. It's another white Sapote, Golden Globe. This is a new one that I've got that I might just repot today as well. Forgot I even ordered this one. Forgot I had it in my collection. So Golden Globe, white Sapote. Excited to see this one come along. It's got some new buds on it. This one's going to be repotted up as well. Another Acha-cha. Looking just fine. Obviously none of my little Cherimoya seedlings came up, which is sad. This one back here is definitely a Rolinia. And this one is definitely having a bad time. It's right in the middle, but it's just kind of holding on, doing nothing. So these Rolinias are definitely not the cold hardiest. Carambola, starfruit. I don't know about this one. It's not looking great. It hasn't had the luckiest life. When it came to me, it was quite dry in a box. I didn't repot it straight away. So it lost some leaves from being just dry. It hasn't really done anything sat here. This tip you can see is dead. So it's not putting on new growth. It could be the cold related. The soil is damp as we get down. It's hard to tell if I should water some of these plants. Canistel. We've got some discolour of the leaves happening. They're going a bit yellow. You can see that it's having a bit of times, bit of struggles. Got another sensor in this pot to kind of get an idea of temperature differences. This one is not covered by frost cloth, so it's just the wall protecting it. And in general, this sensor here, right against the wall here, always registers the highest temperature of all of the sensors that I've had. So the avocado towards the edge there we looked at before with the sensor, that registers the lowest temperatures. This one here, which was quite at the edge of my collection but covered in frost cloth, this registers the second lowest, and right up against the wall there gets the warmest temperatures. Now when we had a negative 3 point something degree day the other day, the avocado by the wall there got down to I think negative 0.2. This white Sapote pot here sensor got down to a little bit higher, I think it got to 0 to 1 degree, and the Custard pot got to between 1 and 2 degrees. So it provides, being up against the wall and under an eave here, it provides at least 4 degrees of protection from the cold overnight, and sometimes more. Another Japoticaba, still damp. Another lipstick plant, not looking too great. Still quite damp in there, so it's not a water related issue. These are those Brazilian cherries. Looks fine, no damage whatsoever. So it's interesting to see, a bit of an update for everybody. Sorry that I ramble and get distracted so much. Overall, I think we're doing okay. I think that some plants do need perhaps an extra layer of protection, which I'm going to set up today as well. We're going to recover all the frost cloth. Maybe I'll give most of these plants a water just because they are getting a bit dry on top, and then we'll cover them back up, and we'll do another update in maybe another 4 weeks, or after another freezing cold event. Oh, we missed this one down here actually. This is a Wampy, just from Dailies. It sat in its original pot that it came from. Again, I was in a big rush, and that is doing just fine down there. White guava we didn't look at. It's kicking along. Other avocado back there we didn't quite look at. Looks fine. So yeah guys, I hope that's a decent update for you. I will quickly go through what I'm planning to do protect these further. I have here some heavier duty globes. Now this is Christmas lights that have been advertised to be hung up, strung up as a decoration. I have 2 boxes of these. They have quite large globes. So these I'm going to string through the plants. These I think are going to put off quite a bit of heat. You can see the size of the filaments in there. And I think that combined with the frost covering, it should really produce a bit of a warm tent, hopefully, over all of these plants. So what I might actually do, because I know there's nothing more enthralling than watching people pull up old Christmas lights and plant new ones down. I'll keep the camera rolling. Maybe we'll put it on super speed, and we can see what it looks like at the end. That was an absolute pain in the ass. And what's worse, I knocked some leaves off my Madrono. So, excellent. This is displeasing. Missed this really near before. Now we get to put new lights up, I guess. Let's hope that they are not as irritating as that last lot were. shiny bulbs of light set throughout this. These are supposedly waterproof. They are warm. This one's been on for a few minutes, but they are not hot. So I'm not particularly, they're hotter around the base here than they are on the actual bulb. And I'm just hoping that once I cover all of this up, that this will be enough with the frost cloth covering to put another degree of temperature under here. So now, potting up these plants, covering up with frost cloth, and then I'm done. What a video. 1 hour 15 minutes already. I'm going to have to definitely condense this or break it into multiple parts. Now finally, put the damn frost cloth back up. Now I've just basically covered this enclosure without much support at the moment. I'm going to go inside and get another roll. Ideally we want the frost cloth to go all the way down to the ground so that it forms a protective tent. You can already see in here though that it's quite nicely protected. The ones right against the wall here, I won't put too much protection on because I know already that the roof line provides a fair bit, but I would like to maximise the amount of heat that these bulbs put off. So I'll go inside, grab another roll of frost cloth and be right back. And there we go, all wrapped up. Could be a better job, no doubt, but we're looking just fine, nice and warm, and we'll see how that makes a difference to our cold temperatures. Anyway guys, it's been a massive amount of shooting here, 1 hour 50 minutes. It's a lot of time in the garden. I'm going to edit this so that it's much shorter, hopefully. Sorry in advance if all of you are bored out of your brains. It's like watching tropical plants grow. But look, I enjoy it. I like to film what I'm doing. Maybe it's a bit of vanity for myself. Maybe it's so that I can look back and see how it was compared to next year. For whatever reason, I hope some of you at least get something out of this, and I'll be back again on another day. Thanks very much.